Hi everyone, today we're going to be reading Hoodie X Listener. I'm honestly just here to know what happened next, so let's just get straight into it. Tape 11. Panicking and throwing my arms around, desperately attempting to free myself. Nothing happened. I reached under and unbuckled myself, but nothing helped. God damn it! I shouted. The heat got stronger. My skin felt so dry. It soon turned into pain. I reached over and grabbed my car keys, pressing the unlock button. I was expecting the loud beat to let out, but it was silence. I threw my now useless keys away from me. I moved my body away from the view of the hill. I needed to climb to the other side. My body felt like it weighed 3 times more than my actual weight. Dragging my feet from under the crushed metal, I found myself into the next seat over. All of my energy seemed to leave at once I found a way out. My sweaty fingers gripped the small pole that indicated it was locked or unlocked. All this sweat is making it hard to pull up. I found myself constantly wiping my hands against my shirt, but it was useless. So I laid myself back and began kicking at the window. At first, it didn't work. But after a few more solid hits, it began to crack. The fire got stronger and I felt myself almost lose consciousness. Once the glass shattered, I was able to crawl out. I felt grass pierce my skin. Fresh air replaced the humid atmosphere I was struggling to live in. Gripping at the grass below me, I picked myself up. Can I run? What if I faint? Taking small steps, those tiny steps turned into larger ones, and that turned into a full-on sprinting my way from the situation. Of course, my shortness of breath got the best of me. I needed a break, but I was terrified of being captured once again. I did all of this to get away, and if it all backfires, my life might be completely over. I threw myself down, curling into a ball, hiding away behind trees and bushes. I needed to calm down and slow down my heart rate before I could run again. What was that thing standing at the top of the hill when my car crashed? It looked familiar, but I couldn't put my finger on it. Crunch. Snap. I gasped and anxiety-filled. I picked up my head and scrambled to stand up. Unfortunately, the same face appeared in front of me, only disfigured and bloody. He put his hand over my mouth and pushed me down with him on top of me. I whimpered and started to kick around. That's when he leaned down and said, "Unless you want to be in, I suggest you shut it." That's when I stopped off all my movements. I felt blood drip on my forehead. It traveled down the side of my head, leaving a trail. "You think I can let you get away I would let you get away so easily?" He asked, showing a small smile on his lips. "Not in a million years," he adds. He pauses and says, "I will say, you are rather smart to use my rather crud feelings I had for you against me." His hands remained tightly sealed against my mouth. "Now I know where we stand," he growls. "But if I'm being honest, I can't stay mad at you for long. It's not something I can hold against you. Besides..." He rolls out the S before leaning closer and saying, "That just means you owe me something." Taking a closer look at his wound, it was rather deep. A long rigid slip down from the top of his eyebrow to just below his eye. I wouldn't be surprised if he couldn't use that eye anymore. That just means he'll lose some of his sight. Easier for me to escape. Wow. Just well, he's gonna lose his sight. Well, I can escape easily. Wow. "Did you miss me?" he asked, rather excited. I can only imagine him like a dog, begging for the right answer. "You did right. That's why you're staring." His voice got a bit higher. He sounded so amused even though I didn't say a word. I knew it. He hums, "You must have been pretty scared without me, right? I'm just glad I found you before they did. I wouldn't forgive myself if I let something happen to you. You're my everything." He's acting like he's known me my whole life. "I'm going to release your mouth. I want you to say something," he mumbles. I felt the tightness grip of his hand slowly fade until his hand had disappeared. He raised his eyebrows, waiting for my response. "Get the fuck off me," I yelled, shoving him with all my strength I had left in my body. Watching him fall backwards, I threw myself up and began running, only for him to take me from behind and restrain me once again. He held me, his legs crossing over mine and blocking my exit, his arms wrapped around me and a hand once again blocking my choice to speak. You really refuse to give up, huh? With a low chuckle, he mutters, well, listen here, kitten. Like, it makes you feel like fuck. I cringed at the rather misleading nickname when I felt his mouth very close to my ears. To me ears. I began thrashing around, attempting to free myself. But he held me almost completely still. You're never leaving. That uncontrollable knot began forming in my throat. I wanted to scream and cry. Why did I just freeze? What? Oh, why can't everything just freeze? I want to be able to calm down and think. Everything is happening so fast. I just want time to completely stop. Hoodie noticed how stiff I was and peered over my shoulder to see my face. What's the matter? He asked, placing his head on my shoulder. I felt the rough cuff of his flesh touch my cheek. I guess I shouldn't ask you questions right now while your mouth is covered. We can talk later when we're alone. That word alone scared me. I don't want to be alone with this man. He's much stronger than I am. Although I may be smarter. I'm absolutely exhausted and terrified of what's going to happen. Let's go, he mumbles. Y'all, where is he going to take us? Alright, y'all, so I'm a little bit nervous about this chapter because it says there's trigger warnings. So I'm going to go ahead and play a warning. Basically, this chapter will mention mentions of suicide, RAP, and sexual assault. They sound terrible, but this chapter is not as bad as I thought. By the way, do you guys like my dress? Uh-oh. At least it's a mention or suggestions, at least. It's not the actual thing. Tape 12. Cautiously slipping my bare leg into the steaming water. I didn't hesitate while pushing the rest of my body inside the bathtub. The cloud-like bubbles stuck to my skin. They scented a sweet fruit. Sighing as the satisfactory of the heat took over my body. I leaned my head back against the bathroom wall. It's been 3 weeks since that car incident. Raising my knee so the water circulates around it, I traced my brutal scar that nearly stuck out of my skin. I remember when I first noticed this. It wasn't until hours after the incident when Hoodie dragged me to this place. He stitched me up though. I had many others, including deep wounds on my back, side, and arms. My knee was actually supposed to be wrapped in gauze and training tape, but since I'm in the bath, I took them off. I moved my knee back under the water, putting my head back against the cold wall. I slipped myself slowly into the hot water, only letting out the bottom half of my head remaining in the water. My nose was free, so I could breathe. My hair was tied up so high so it wouldn't get wet. I had already taken a shower yesterday, so there was no need to wash it again. Maybe later tonight or tomorrow morning. Y'all, this is so random. But don't wash your hair every day. That dehydrates. I don't care if you say that your hair is very oily and da-da-da. You're not supposed to wash it every day. That just makes it worse. I hope you guys know that. If you want to know how to take proper care of it, YouTube is available. Where are you watching this right now? It'll take a little bit of research, but with a little bit of research and resources, I think y'all will be able to have it in the bag. So, yeah, don't wash your hair every day. Random advice from a girl who has sadly experienced it. So, yeah. Anyway, when the door opened, I didn't move. My body was already hidden beneath the bubbles, fully covered. Sorry, I didn't know you were in the bath, Hoodie says, still walking in and opening the small cabinet door underneath the sink. Grabbing a few supplies, he sighed and hesitated to leave. Before closing the door, he spoke his clouded mind. You have to speak to me sometime, YN. You can't ignore me forever. He shut the door, leaving me to the sweet silence of the room. To him, silence was better. That's why he hates being ignored. That's why I'm still ignoring him. The actual reason I was refusing to talk to him was because last week he did something to me that wasn't exactly a healthy thing to do to a person. He didn't force sex on me, but if I hadn't shouted at him and broke multiple things, it probably would have escalated to that. I was sleeping in the bedroom by myself. I don't allow Hoodie to sleep in there with me. He sleeps on the couch. He knows that. But that night, while I was sleeping, he snuck into the room and proceeded to climb into the bed with me. I remember his cold fingers wrapped around my body, stopping all the heat radiating off my body and replaced it with fear. I pushed him off the bed and immediately started yelling at him, cursing at him, throwing things at him, whatever I could to get my point across. Damn, girl. I get it, but don't need to be throwing stuff. Jeez. Just tell him to get the fuck out. And if he gets the fuck out, great. If he doesn't, after a third time, throw. Like, jeez. Oh my goodness. I wasn't exactly sure what his intention was, whether it was sexual or pure curiosity. I didn't care for the explanation. From that day on today, I didn't say a word to him. He constantly tries to explain his reasoning behind it, but I wouldn't listen. I would simply walk away. Oh my gosh. Sorry, y'all. My computer almost fell on me while I was charging, because it's a very petty woman. Very petty indeed. Doesn't like if it just receives a slight bit of attention, it'll try its utter best to gain my attention by making itself fall on me. Yeah, anyways, continuing on. He constantly tries to explain his reasoning behind it, but I wouldn't listen. I simply would walk away or lock myself in the room. The more time he keeps me with him, the more I want to take myself out of this world myself. It was a rather irrational decision, but it was probably the only way I can leave him. Pushing the graphic image out of my head, I closed my eyes. I'm exhausted. I didn't do much today, but mentally I'm worn down. So much happened and I don't know how to handle it. There's no way to handle it. I'm not going to talk to him, especially about my feelings. When the door opened again, I furrowed my eyebrows deeply, showing how frustrated I was. Oh my gosh. I was like, wait, I was reading. I was like, oh, okay, let me continue to that. When the door opened once again, I furrowed my eyebrows deeply, showing how frustrated I was that Hoodie decided to come back in. The sound of the door closing gave me some relief. He probably just went to put back those supplies. I opened my eyes, then immediately yelped and my body jerked. He was sitting right in front of the tub, his gray t-shirt resting peacefully against his body. He looked as miserable as I did. Dark bags under his eyes, tired-filled eyes. He sighed. It's lonely out there, he mumbles, fidgeting with his sweatpants strings, twirling them around and making loops. I know you're not going to talk to me, but I just wanted to talk, he says, keeping his head down and eyes focused on the floor. Even though I didn't want to listen, I had no choice. Without saying a word, I lifted my head from under the water and bringing my knees to my chest. Letting my head rest against them, my eyes met his. Okay. He whispers to himself, well, first, I just want to explain what happened. He pauses, as if waiting for a reaction from me. Then he puts his head back down. I didn't intend anything bad. I just had an extremely bad night that night, and I needed comforting. I just thought that maybe you wouldn't mind. He huffs out the words like they were painful for him to say. But I was wrong, and I apologize for that. I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable and scared. Just please talk to me again, he begs, lifting up his head again. I just blinked at him, water dripping from the lower half of my face. I wasn't sure I wanted to break the strike or not. Am I willing to forgive him? I mean, I can talk to him, but I won't forgive him. Now that I realize that this is probably the best and nicest hoodie we're gonna get from any story. I hope y'all know that right now. And a few moments went by with me thinking of my final decision. I could see the anticipation on his face already. Get my clothes. I mumbled, wanting to leave the bathtub and get dressed now. He smiled and shot up. Will do, he said, opening the door, and quickly made his way to the laundry room to retrieve my clothes like I had told him to. He then came back and placed them on the small shelf in the corner of the room. Before he closed the door, and he stopped and said, "Thank you." He then closed the door, reaching my hand down and pulling the drain lid from the drain. The water began to disappear. I stood up completely and stepped out of the tub, grabbing the light blue towel from the hook. I wrapped it around my body. Okay, sis. Tape 13. Oh, by the way, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was. I thought it was something absolutely horrendous. It actually wasn't as bad as I thought it was, but he still, I was a clear, pushing a bit too many boundaries, you know what I'm saying? But, it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, because I thought something of absolutely, let's just say I thought of the masky one that I told you guys that was horrendous as heck. But if you want me to read it, I will try to read it. Luckily, I didn't pick that one, though. Thank goodness. Y'all are angels for that one. Y'all saved me for that one, because I read the ending of it, and it is terrible. Anyway, no spoilers for that one. I'm so happy that this is not horrendous. Anyways, tape 13. Lifting up my leg, I felt the softness of the training tape began wrapping around my knee. The small shots of pain were normal. It was still healing. I also had patched multiple other deep wounds spread throughout my body. When Hoodie finished wrapping it, he sat up. All right, all done. Is it easier to walk on now? I wasn't the only one with scars. Hoodie had developed a rather large scar, one on his face from when I hit him with that fireplace poker. Slowly sitting up from the couch, I attempted to stand fully. The tightness of the tape had almost made my knee bend a little, but it was supposed to be tight. The small shots of pain turning into larger amounts, but not unbearable. Besides, if I wanted to walk around without limping, I needed to move around more. Hoodie held out his hands to see if I was gonna fall or not, then retracted them once he saw me doing okay. He sighed in relief and said, "I'm glad you can stand without falling." I nodded my head. I am too. Want something to drink? He leaves the living room. This place he had brought me to was a pretty small place, so we didn't have to go far. Unfortunately, I have no idea where we are. He refuses to tell me. Considering my house isn't too closed off from the busy streets, and this place seems quiet, he probably went miles to get here. But I gave up, wanting to know after a while of begging and threatening. "No thanks," I said, sitting back down on the couch. Surprisingly, the TV worked. After hours of messing with the wires and almost electrocuting myself, I got it to work. Hoodie had no idea how to do it. He was afraid of touching it, so I volunteered. He told me no a few times, but I did it anyway. We don't get many channels, only about 5. Usually those channels consisted of a baking show, the news, some weird Spanish show. Girl, you judging us? A bidding competition, and very rarely these old cartoons. Even though I'm in my 20s, I still enjoy watching those cartoons. So do I, my guy. They brings me back to when that's all I could do on weekends. My mother would have to drag me outside. I love cartoons. I love watching Popeye the Sailor Man, Tom and Jerry, Pink Panther, and many other more that I cannot remember at the top of my head, but I remember is like boop boop beep doo. Like I can't. I love her so much, but Betty Boop as well. There you go. Takes me a little bit to remember names, but it's okay. I love them too. Oh my goodness. It was only me and my brother growing up. My mother worked late hours, and our father had left when my brother was only 6. I was 2 at the time. I'd always asked him about our father, what he was like, what he looked like, and if he was more like me or my brother. And he would answer those questions. But one question he would never answer was, why did he leave? Without the father figure in the household, we didn't have much authority, considering my mother was barely there to watch us. I was basically raised by my brother. All that had changed when my mother came home one early afternoon, tears slowly streaming down her face. I remember my brother comforting her, asking what was wrong. She had gotten fired from her job. We didn't have much money to begin with, but after she had lost her job, she began locking herself in her room and neglecting both of us. My brother understood better than me what she was going through. But our food supply got smaller. I started going to the neighbors for food. They were very kind to us, always inviting us over for dinner and letting me and my brother swim in their pool during the summer. I stopped going, though. Eventually, I came home with their sweet scent of cinnamon stuck on me. My mother had noticed. She had yelled at me that I was being ungrateful and that we have food at home. She even grounded me, throwing me in my bedroom and slamming the door. I was confused. She loves our neighbors. Why would she suddenly hate them now? As I stayed lonely in my bedroom, I waited for my brother to get home. He had taken a job to clean people's lawns, houses, anything they needed in exchange for money and food. He would come home exhausted, covered in dirt and scratches. I offered to help him with his work, but he told me he didn't want to trouble me, and that he felt like if he needed to help us. When my mother had finally gotten a job, my brother stopped doing his. He was about 16 now, and I was 12. We never talked about it until me and my brother were both old enough and we had gone our own place. I'd often have him over, along with his son. I was rather shocked when him and his girlfriend had come over with the news. He was 29 and was going to have a kid. But of course, I supported him, knowing it would be the beginning to his happy life. He never had an issue finding people to love. I remember him telling me dates when he was in high school, but for me, I had never experienced it. It's not that I didn't want a significant other, I just never found the time to search for one. Hey, Hoodie said, grazing my shoulder. I had snapped from my thoughts up. Sorry, I was just thinking. I mumbled, glancing down at the small TV remote in my hand. About? He asked, sitting down next to me but keeping a good distance between us, my family. This might be the first time I open up towards Hoodie, and it might be the last depending on how he reacts. Wow! She got him on a tight leash. Jeez. Oh, well, do you want to talk about it? I knew he was expecting a rather harsh answer from me. He had always gotten them. But this time was different. Okay. After explaining to him the way I was raised and how hard it was for my whole family, he began to go silent. He was possibly guilty for what he had done to my only brother and nephew, as he should be. If expecting me to forgive him, I'm not going to do it. Not now, not ever. My actual name is Brian. He blurts out, Oh? Ooh? Chapter 14. Brian. I mumble, placing down the glass plate onto the wooden floor. Brian. I muttered again, allowing the word to roll off my tongue, smiling to myself. I hummed in satisfaction, tucking a piece of a free strand of hair behind my ear. Looking down at the nicely set up table for two, I cleared my throat and shouted, Brian! I'll be out in a moment, he responds quickly afterwards. I pulled out 2 chairs and politely sat in mine. It had been days after discussing how my childhood went to him, and Brian's telling me about his. He went into deeper depth another day, but once hearing about it, I kind of changed my perspective. Not too much, but I did see things a different way. He even exclaimed who those other people were and that thing I saw at the top of the hill when my car had crashed. I hadn't exactly been as depressed as I used to be, although I do miss talking to other people other than Brian. Sometimes I have the urge to jump out of the window and run away. Of course, I know what's out there. He warned me multiple times, but the thoughts get bigger and bigger, and while it's only me and myself to console it, I end up breaking down. Clearing my throat, I continue to wait. Hearing his footsteps approach the dining room, a small smile formed appeared on my face. I wasn't sure why I was smiling more often. I just was. My smile almost felt unreal, which was odd. I'm smiling. My fingers touched my mouth. The smile soon faded when Brian had appeared next to me. Sorry he had to wait. Sorry. Hey, sorry for the wait, he mumbled. He then placed down a beverage for me to drink. Where'd you even get this? I asked, taking it into my hands. I didn't ask for a drink. Just now, from the kitchen. Why wouldn't I be able to hear him, though? That's a bit odd. Shaking it off, I slowly let the liquid fall down my throat. The aftertaste had a bitter feeling, which I cringed at. You all right? He asked, taking his seat at the table across from me. Yeah, it kind of has a bitter taste to it, I said, placing down the half-empty cup. I'm sure it's nothing, he mutters, placing his hand on top of mine. I then retracted my hand from his grab. He clears his throat. Anyway, I need to head out for a few minutes. I need to get some more things. He went out not too long ago, a few days in fact. I found it odd, but never really questioned it. I assumed it was a part of his basic routine. Sighing, I replied, all right, you know the drill. He mumbles, scooping up a piece of his food onto his spoon. Yes, the drill. It consists of making sure all the windows and doors were locked, closing all curtains and shutting off all the lights, and me hiding in a very small closet until he got back. I got over my fear of small spaces rather quickly. My appetite was suddenly wiped away. My stomach was growling before. Why am I not satisfied enough to eat? Furrowing my eyebrows, I glanced from my food. What's wrong? He asked, sounding rather mundane. What the hell does mundane mean? Hold up. What does mundane mean? Okay. Lacking interest or excitement, dull. That's a word? How do you pronounce it?
Mundane.
Mundane. I never knew this word existed. That is so cool, actually. Well, now we know what it means, folks. Back to the story. Now we appeared magically in the story. What's wrong, he asked. He sounded rather mundane while asking the question, as if that question had no meaning, like he didn't care about the answer, just wanted me to shut up. Nothing, I muttered. Pushing away whatever feelings just escaped me, I replaced my frown with a smile. I'm just awfully tired. I guess I should take a nap while you're gone, I hummed. Picking myself up from my seat, leaving the neatly organized table, I took the liberty of setting it up myself. I felt angry. All right. I'll just head out now then. Don't forget to drink the rest of your water. I want you to stay hydrated. I know. Hearing those words gave me annoyance. He had said it so many times before. I understand his concern, but it's unnecessary to constantly remind me. I can take care of myself. I wish you'd understand that. I don't think he's telling you that to take care of yourself. I think he's telling you that because he put something in that damn water or whatever you're drinking. Because one minute, like 1 week, you're being aggressive. Another week, you're acting really awfully calm and somehow speaking to this man when you said this and you said that. Now, maybe it isn't the drink. Maybe it's just you. Something's still awfully wrong. And I think that man poisoned her, or is not poisoning her, giving her something to make her obey or something. Maybe it's an entirely different thing. But I'll keep that in mind. He got up from his seat and casually walked over to the front door. Grabbing a hanging bag from the coat rack, he left, without any second glance or word. A few seconds passed before I started locking all the windows and doors, shutting all the cloth curtains. It blocked out nothing. It was still dark out. Still, I closed them, following the rules. Why are you following the rules? Like, I get it to protect yourself, but why? You never wanted to follow any rules. I'm questioning this character right now. Then proceeding to shut off all the lights. It was pitch black. Stopping my track, I hitched. Ringing appeared in my ears. No sound to cover it. Sounds weird. Shifting my hair away from my face, I took a step toward while my eyes adjusted to the darkness. The poorly lit room stood at the end of the hallway, the golden colors peering beneath the door. I followed it, letting the colors cover my body as the door swung open. Stepping in, I closed it behind me, letting my hand flick the switch off. I hated this. Being in the dark, alone. My anxiety gets too much. I sometimes even have panic attacks in the closet. The air gets so limited in there. It's almost unbearable even. But obeying it anyway, I slipped myself into the empty closet, curling my body into a ball, leaning my head against the hard wall while my knees kept close to below my chin. I shut the door, hearing the sickening click of the lock-in. I gasped slightly. This is torture. My cheeks filled with emotion and the lack of the proper air. My sobbing had turned it unbearably humid. Wiping away the salty drops, I felt how hot my skin was. I cleared my throat. I need to calm down, YN. You're alright. Everything's fine. Brian will be back very soon. He's usually out only about an hour. I said out loud, repositioning myself and taking slow, deep breaths. No, he won't. I gasped, looking ahead of me. I moved close to the wall behind me, hoping I'm just hearing things. I moved my ear closer to the door. Hello? I whispered. Hey. They responded plainly, not in a boring way or in a taunting way. It was rather like they were genuine. Covering my mouth to restrain from yelling out, I held back the fear and swallowed it down hard, making a gulping sound in the process. Who are you? I asked cautiously. No one important. Taking the voice was deep, I assumed it was male. He had a bit of a raspy sound come from his throat as if he tried to inflict his voice. But I know who you are, he says. Oh? Tape 15. How do you know me? I mumbled, now sitting in front of the closed door. Nothing but this wood between me and this man. You're wanted, he says. I know I am, but why are you trying to kill me? Take me? I began to get unsatisfied with his short answers. I was hired by the one and only. I think you know why I'm here, YN. He lets out a low chuckle. I heard him shift. Then I see light appear from underneath the door. I see his shadow blocking the door. I caught a glimpse of his bare feet. They were a grayish color. Is this Eyeless Jack? I'm not coming out, I said. You don't need to, he mumbles. A few moments of silence struck. I spoke again. What should I call you? Why do you need to know? It's not going to change your outcome now, is it? He sounds calm, sad, almost. If it doesn't change my outcome, then why should it matter if I know or not? I questioned him the same way he questioned me. He lets out another low chuckle. You got me there. He paused, then confessed. I don't just give out my name. I go by Hobo Heart. What? Oh, damn it. Close enough. You can call me whatever you want. It doesn't matter to me. Hobo Heart. I whispered to myself. I wasn't expecting such a weirdly combo of a name. It just means something. It must mean something then. Unfortunately, I can't see what it looks like. I can't match his voice to his appearance. How long are we going to stay like this? I asked, not annoyed with the situation, but plainly curious. Not sure, he says quickly. You know, for a girl who's going to die soon, you seem awfully collected. Have you been waiting for this? Cracking a smile, releasing a quiet chuckle, I huffed. Something like that. Letting my shaking hands wrap around the doorknob, I twisted it until it clicked. The door swung open. The man moved back to let it by. Then moved back to the front of the doorway. My back leaned against the wall. I let my head rest against it as well. He looked a bit shocked. I had let this happen voluntarily. You see, I know exactly what's about to happen. I let my arms raise. So? I asked, my arms back down beside me. He didn't speak. Rather, he remained still. I took in his features. Dark gray complexion, patterns of bones colored white outlined on his skin. Upon his face, a skull marked it, only down to his lips and cheeks, though. His unpigmented hair reaching down to the bridge of his nose. He sat in a rather odd position, knees up, allowing his arms to rest on top. His bright, cerulean eyes following my every move. I tilted my head and shrugging my shoulders. We just gonna sit here? I grumbled, my voice becoming low, my tenderness leaving and being replaced with disinterest. You don't want to be here, do you? He grilled. I scoffed. Who would? My fingers copied the harsh outlines of the scarrings on my legs. This isn't what I wanted. I wanted to be free, not trapped inside and controlled by an infectious man. I'm not a very good hitman. He chimes. His head hung low. I observed his colored fingers fidgeting. How so? I avowed. I was supposed to kill you 10 minutes ago. He opened up, shaking his head, looking into the distance beside him. Yeah? I affirmed. Just do it. I'm ready. I can't take being here any longer, and I'm sure anywhere is better than being confined to this goddamn prison. I'm in misery. Growling out the word, rather powerful word. Yeah, I can tell. I assume my forlorn looks gave it away then. But not even that can cover the contemptuous power I had towards Brian for keeping me here, imprisoned in this abode he calls home. Even after telling the stranger to take action, he endures it. My attention had been focused on the ceiling above me. You're only stretching out my pain, you know. He didn't respond. I shifted my head, giving my attention to an empty doorway before me. The melting temperature of the room overcame my body. It was too hot. Leaving the closed-up space, I stood up, leading myself out of it. Walking forward, my weary eyes began squinting slightly to see past the blur. Fury blaze. I closed my eyes, my throat hesitated, and my breath hitched. Swelling tears pitched the sides of my eyes. Opening them again, the man stood in my gaze. His looming figure seemed no threat to me. His hands situated on my cheeks. His fleshy, segmented fingers held onto me, lifting my head up towards to his. In this hell of a fire, his temperature remains cold. Leaning down, I felt the comforting warmth of his breath touch my face. The aroma of dirt surrounding him, and his breath smelled of liquor. Wake up. He purred into my lips. Oh, what? He purred into my lips. Heaving, I breathed in and out the scorching air around me, pushing myself from the corner of the closet. I looked around frantically, bothered why I'm still here. Very faintly, the small cracks and cackles of flames fell into my ears. Panicking, I shut up and swung the door open. It slammed against the barrier. Launching myself to the bedroom light, I flicked it on. What? The brightness of it pierced my eyes. I winced. I held my breath, waited for the same sound to appear again. Whining, my hands jerked on the door, rushing down the hallway. The kitchen was engulfed in flames. Not exactly sure where the fire extinguisher is hitting at this point, I turned on the lights to the bathroom, throwing it out of the way. What? Throwing it out of the way, snatching up the bucket beside the sink. Damn it! I cursed, shoving the bath handle down. Water spewed out, filling the bucket. When it was basically full, I charged out of the bathroom, ready to pull it out of the flames. But I stood, frozen. The two men noticed me, also standing there frozen in the tracks. My heart bounced in fear, shouting at me to run, but I didn't. Oh my goodness. This is getting weirder and weirder. The two men Get her! One of them smacked the other's arm, and he charged at me. Spilling the water onto the floor, I sprinted back to the bedroom. I shut the door with great force, causing it to make a loud noise. He started banging roughly, yelling things at me. "Damn it, I thought that hobo took care of her," he cursed. "You know how he is. He never does anything for us. He has that goddamn second chance theory," the other growled, when the both of them started to blam their bodies against the door and attempt to knock it down. I looked around the room. My only option is to escape. Rushing to the window, I unlocked it, sliding it open, and I placed my foot out, ready to run. That's when the same man stood beside it, arms crossed, staring at me. Oh? Oh shit. Tape 16. Oh, this is the guy. I've heard of him once in a while, but not like, fully, Tape 16. "I'm not going to hurt you," he mutters. "But I'm also not going to help you. Anymore, I guess I should say." Adding in his words, the world around me seemed to blur and bend. "There's him now," Hobo whispers. I turn around expecting someone to be acquainted beside me, but no one. Is she hallucinating? Excuse me. Is she hallucinating all that I just read? If she hallucinated a high man. And then some other guys that weren't particularly given identities. Just man. 2 people. Anyways, but no one. "Hey, Wayne, what the hell are you doing?" Brian grabs my shoulder, shaking me slightly. I gasped and I thought Hobo was just there. "There's someone trying to break in, Brian," I said, climbing out the rest of the window. "What?" he asked. The kitchen was on fire and there's people trying to get me," I explained. He looked even more confused. "There was this man. Hobo, he found me in the closet and gave me a second chance to leave, but he saved me, Brian." I looked around trying to find the helpful man, but there was no one. Nowhere. "Hobo visited?" he asked. "You know him?" He lets out a long sigh, then places his hand on my shoulder. "When he's usually the type of person who you would stumble upon before you die. I'm glad he gave you a second chance. He's known for that. He wasn't given one when his time came, so he gives it to others who he thinks deserves it. Second chances to live." Oh, that wasn't a hallucination. Shouting broke the tension between the conversation. Brian gasped and dragged me away from the home. I got a glimpse of what the surroundings looked like. Then in the distance, those familiar bright eyes shined at me. He waved, but this time, gray rings sprouted from his back, feathers flawlessly flowing in the night wind. An angel? A deformed meaning of the word angel, I guess. Whoever he was. "Where do we go now?" I asked. I always have a parked car not too long from here, considering it an escape plan. "But where do we go?" "I'll think of a place," he mumbles, taking a sharp turn, dragging me with his hand tightly wrapped around my wrist. Feeling as if all of this was happening around right now was fake. I dug my fingernail into the palm of my hand. The sudden ejection caused pain. Real pain. Is Hobo a good man? I wondered, wanting to know more about the man. Somewhat. He's probably one of the most helpful and giving out of all of us. Brian looked back at me, taking in my current emotion. You told him you wanted to die, didn't you?" "I'm surprised he isn't out of breath by now. I know I am. I wish we'd just find the car already." As if on cue, we approached it. I watched as Brian threw down his bag and rummaged through it, a desperate intent in finding the keys, I'm assuming. "Gotcha," Brian mumbles, holding out the keys and pressing the button to unlock it. The car's headlights lit up and beeped, indicating that it was now open. I jumped into the passenger side while he slid into the steering wheel, not bothering to buckle himself in. That's the first thing I did, besides shutting my door and locking it. When he shoved his keys inside and twisted it, the car shook and rumbled. He pivoted his body and leaned against the hold in between us. looking back at his surroundings. He backed up and turned to the direction we needed to follow. I was nervous people were going to jump out and attack us. My eyes kept darting around to find such things. As soon as we began moving consistently, I didn't bother to tell him to buckle in. Best case scenario, he crashes the car in an accident and dies, while I live and can get help. Man, you're thinking of, oh my gosh. The ground would have got smoother as the car drove onto the road. What would have happened if Hobo didn't give me a second chance? I asked, opening the vents and turning the knob to heat. The sudden air pushed through the vent and hit my face. I sighed in satisfaction. He would have held you down and ripped your heart out, he said, glancing at the side mirror a few times. Ripping my heart out? Yeah, that's what he does, you know. Someone I know that takes kidneys of people, someone carves smile into their faces, get drowned or stitched to other persons. It's just what they do. His tone changed. I was annoying him clearly, so I focused my attention elsewhere, only thinking to myself. I still have questions, but I'm not going to ask them. Maybe later if Brian gets a better attitude. Girl. Feeling the fabric feeling the fabric on my bare ankle, I looked down Brian's bag. I reached down and grabbed it, placing it onto my lap. I reached my hand inside of it. Hey, what do you think you're doing? He growls, glancing at me and then back at the road, trying to keep his focus. What I had my hand wrapped around was a pill bottle. Moving the bag out of his reach, I continued to find multiple more. Brian, what are these? I asked, examining the label. Antidepressant. Have you been secretly giving me these? Asking the rather messed up question, I wasn't expecting an honest answer back. Yes. I scoffed and shoving them back into the bag and throwing the bag down. But they were only because it was for the better. You were depressed and because of you, I yelled. Because I'm trapped, controlled. I haven't been talking to an actual person in months. I'm alone, and don't say I'm not. Because because you don't even count. You're a crazy freak. I spelled out, panting slightly from the shouting, pushing away the hair in my face. I cleared my throat, sitting normally in my seat and collecting myself. You only gave them to me, so I wouldn't kill myself, so you wouldn't be alone. I mumbled, those final words echoing. You wouldn't understand. He states, I should have went with Hobo. I muttered, purposely quiet in hopes he didn't exactly hear all of it. Assuming in silence meant he didn't, I was left alone to my own thoughts. Music began to play through the speakers. I leaned my head back against the seat. I closed my eyes, slipping into slumber. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, Lee. First of all, whew. Second of all, oof with these chapters. My goodness, I did not expect this at all. Like, at first, I thought he was, like, drugging us or something to make us, like, a very much more, I was thinking a very much more harsh, darker thing than it was. So I'm surprised. It's not as dark as I think it would have been. Let me know if you guys think it was way darker, but it isn't. I'm here just like, So far what we got is basically what happened was actually, maybe whatever she was experiencing with Hobo, it maybe did happen. Maybe it did. But maybe it was like a future look at the future if she stayed. Or, I don't know, maybe it even currently happened. I'm not too sure myself. I'm not really sure. It's kind of confusing, but I don't know. Y'all let me know. I'm kind of confused myself. I'm not going to lie. And I thought he was feeding us something terrible, but it was just antidepressants to stop us from offing ourselves. And no wonder, because usually I'm pretty sure you're supposed to eat before taking pills. You're not supposed to. Yeah, you're not supposed to. So, yeah. He secretly gave him to her to keep her with him. And I'm really like, that's crazy. And I'm like, at the same time, does Hobo like us too? Because I'm getting the intention that he does. Honestly, let me know what you guys think is gonna happen next. Do you think that somehow Hobo will just get dragged into this with us, or nah? Let me know in the comments down below. And do you think that this is random, completely random, might not even be continuing in this, I'm not sure. Will we still be taking the antidepressants after finding out what he's been doing? Will we trust Hoodie again with giving us a simple thing and us tasting it suddenly weird? Will we trust him? Would you trust a person that did that to you? Even though it was for, like, on their side, a pretty logical, quote-unquote, decision. Let me know. I probably wouldn't. Because that would be the first and last time I would ever trust anyone with my drink like that. But it's okay. You guys might have different reasons. I just, I just put it like this. I probably would have died a long time ago in the story if this was actually the real me. So that's all I want to say to that. So yeah, let me know your opinions, guys. But yeah, anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this lovely video. Peaceful, I almost say almost. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more amazing videos, guys. Your girl gotta sadly go. I will see you guys in a futuristic video of me just maybe either dying eternally or happily enjoying my eternity. We'll see about it. Anyways, your girl's gotta go. Bye and peace.